Now we are moving on to an interesting panel. The panel is going to be talking about success stories. Are there any parameters for success for the D2C brands? And if yes, what are the strategies or what are the secrets of building a successful D2C brand? So these are certain questions that our next panel is going to be talking about. The topic for the panel is success stories, and please join me now in welcoming our session chair, Utsav Malhotra, COO for Noise. May I request you to kindly come on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause. I would now like to invite on stage our panelists for this session. Please welcome Matthew Joseph, co-founder and CEO for Sleepy Head. Please put your hands together for Akash Anand, founder, Bella Vita Organic. Please give it up for Sujit Kumar Mishra, co-founder and CEO for Winnie. Please put your hands together for Abhineet Sawa, co-founder, Snapmint. And lastly, joining us on this panel is Gaurav Singh Kushwaha, founder and CEO for Blue Stone. Please put your hands together and welcome the panel on stage. We have everybody already present and ready, so I would request our session chair, Utsav Malhotra, to kindly take the discussion forward.
I hope we've got a full house with full bellies, because that's the ideal setting for some very interesting stories. Trust me, this is a session where we're not doling out gyan. We're just listening to stories and hopefully learn from their experiences. I once had a very wise man tell me, experience is not what happens to you, it's what you do with what happens to you. And I'm hoping today we will use the wisdom of this panel to actually make good, hopefully answer some questions of the order of, is there a secret sauce? And is that a sauce that is willingly available at your disposal? What does it take for you to sustain and outperform in a cluttered environment? We keep talking about D2C. We keep talking about newer brands coming out every day. But what does it take for us to really stand out? And I think we've got a very, very interesting panel. We've got people who've really been trailblazers. We've got here Matthew, who decided that he's going to put a mattress in a box. We've got Anand, who basically is an exception to the norm, where he said, you know what, I won't build one brand, but a house of brands, because I've mastered the recipe to scaling up a D2C brand. We've got somebody who challenged the norm on jewelry, right? And Gaurav here is one of those panelists where jewelry was bought in India a certain way. What did it take for him to revolutionize that industry? We've got also a very interesting story in Sujit, where he entered an industry of gifting that already had some players. It's also an environment where consumer centricity is probably more paramount. There are more chances of the consumer feeling disappointed, because that is one special occasion that you are making count. And finally, we've got Abhineet, who's probably at the cross-section of everything else, because he's enabling commerce for some of these D2C brands. I want to actually start out by asking some very fundamental questions. Because, see, when D2C businesses and founders start out, they start out by having a solid purpose, they follow their passion, and some of them just persevere. And I think we've got stories of passion, perseverance, and purpose all here. But I want to start out by Gaurav, asking Gaurav. Gaurav, I think you had a much larger purpose to what you were trying to do. You were trying to revolutionize a business which has historically existed a certain way. Generations have followed jewelers buying jewelry a certain way. It's almost custom in most families. And you came from a background that had nothing to do with this. You really took the mantle on for a greater good. How did you go about doing it? What was the thought? And what was the measure of success that you set out to do? Because clearly there was not much of a playbook that existed prior to this.
Yeah, so, hello. Yeah. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Gaurav Singh Kushwaha, founder and CEO of Bluestone. So we started Bluestone back in 2012. At that time, e-commerce itself was very nascent. There were few horizontals. There were a lot of people who were creating vertical offerings across a lot of categories. So vertical commerce was something that I wanted to start in. Uh, and prior to that, I had no experience in jewelry as a category, as a buyer or otherwise. Also, I was not even married, so I never entered a jewelry shop till then. In fact, I did not even know the difference between white gold and platinum. I thought both were same. Later on, figured out that they were not. So it was kind of a very objective decision. I had worked in Amazon also. I had seen the startup, especially the e-commerce ecosystem evolve. And one of the things I had observed in case of Amazon's journey was also that Amazon kept on gobbling category after category. As it grew, it started from books and then it went into many other categories. And hence I wanted to start in a category which is naturally shielded from the likes of Amazon and Flipkart, and also has a significant size. So jewelry as a category is huge in India. It's actually bigger than electronics also, and we Indians, we just love jewelry. So India is among the so if for every other category, India is like 1/10 or 1/20th of US. In jewelry, India is bigger than US, right? So the category was very, very huge. I think the only challenge, as was pointed out, was that this is a very traditional category. There is a certain way in which jewelry was being bought for generations, and that had not evolved. So while I think 1980s and 1990s onward, a lot of categories had evolved. Many other categories like shoes, apparel, and in fact, any other category, you see the size of the shops increased. Rather than shopping on counters, people started walking into aisles, and browsing became the primary behavior as opposed to buying, which used to be the case 30, 40 years back. So even if these days you're buying a grocery, you would actually enter into a shop where there would be aisles, and you would walk into those aisles, browse products, and then pick the product that you want to buy. Whereas in case of jewelry, the experience was still more or less the same. You would go sit on a counter, and then you would say that, okay, this is what I'm looking for. And then it would be a very iterative process. So that lack of innovation in the category was what prompted me that, okay, something can be done here. And with that, we started. And so in 2012 itself, when we started, we were very clear that we wanted to build a product brand and not a marketplace per se. So we were a D2C player back in 2012 when the term D2C itself was not coined. So we had our own products and so on. And what we saw was, as soon as we launched, and as soon as and we created a very good catalog of products. And as soon as we entered the market, I think there was that small set of people who were actually looking for this kind of an experience which would actually resonate with new age audience, new age customers. And first 3 to 4 years, online itself grew very, very strongly for us. Beyond that, it started, so the whole growth rate of online only started kind of coming down, started tapering down. And then, so one of the biggest learnings for us came in 2016, when we were talking to a lot of our customers. What we realized was people love browsing jewelry online because that is not something that you can do in a jewelry shop. You cannot go to a jewelry shop every weekend or every second day and just look at designs and walk out. Third day, the jewelry shop, the jeweler would not even let you enter. It's not a welcome kind of a place. So while people loved online for browsing, when it came to actually pressing that buy now button, they did not have enough comfort with the channel, with the online channel. They had the comfort with the brand, they had the familiarity with the brand, they had the love for the products, but they did not have the confidence and the trust on the channel, which is also there in lots of other high value categories also. So for cars also, you would do a lot of research online, but you're not going to press a buy now button on any of the portals. You would still go do a test drive and then buy it. And which is where the whole omni-channel then came into the picture. So we opened first 4 or 5 stores, waited for some time to see how the behavior is panning out. And then we realized that so before rolling out a store, our estimate was that for every one person who was buying, there were 30 potentials who would buy if there was a store. And we saw that panning out, and hence we started rolling out stores very, very rapidly. Right now we are at 100 stores. So in fact, I would say that more than passion, it was a story of perseverance. We actually held out, we evolved, we learned, and then we found the right mix for the business, and we are scaling very rapidly with that.
Excellent, excellent. So you've got the two key takeaways that I understand from this is that there is no shortcut to perseverance, but you have to be brave enough to kind of dive into a territory that has been uncharted and continue to kind of innovate. And that brings me to a very interesting story. Typically, when we are market mapping and looking at new categories, you are looking at a cross-section of the TAM, which is the addressable market size, and the CAGR, which is the growth rate that that market likely to have. We've got here a very interesting story where you decided to put mattresses in an environment and in a delivery mechanism that had never been seen before. What was the inspiration, and therefore, what did it take for you to kind of build a niche for yourself which had not been attempted before?
Yeah, so one of the first things what we do is, even today it happens, every year in the month of February, we go through this customer journey to understand, when customers buy our mattresses, what are the different paths they go to. So a typical, offline store, they have to go to a store, really get confused with all the different mattresses out there, then bargain with the shopkeeper just to understand what price he can get it for. Then after concluding a deal, then the shopkeeper says delivery is extra, and the mattress is pretty big, and God help you if you're on the 5th floor, that's an additional charge. So when we really understood all this, we do a mechanism just to see how can we reduce customers' path to purchase. How do you reduce the barriers? And one of the biggest barrier was the mattress was designed to be a big rectangular blob, and we thought, how do we make it better, so that it's compressed and roll packed into a nifty box so that it reaches home, quite comfortably. So that gave us a big differentiator in terms of how people saw mattresses as it is. And, the entire experience, let's be very honest, mattresses is a very boring category. So, how do you create excitement, for this purchase? And I think we achieved this with this model.
Excellent. So I think consumer experience pretty much becomes like one large element that most founders have managed to put as the cornerstone of delivering delight. And that brings me to a question that I really have here with regards to, Sujit, when you are delivering delight to consumers and they are trusting you to their biggest day, you are in a category where if the flowers don't reach on time, if the cake is delayed, the consumer experience could completely go for a toss. And you've got players who've been doing this for a while now. For a business that is sitting out of Panchkula, for a business that is really not, is bootstrapped, is taking on the might of some of those big players out there. What was it for you that fueled your imagination to do this, and how is it managed for you to stay ahead in the game?
Yeah, hi, good afternoon. We operate from a very small place, Panchkula. So usually we value money, we value occasion, and that is more prevalent in tier 2, tier 3 cities than in the metros, that they need to go to every occasion, they need to celebrate every festival. So from there, we take inspiration, and presently we have more than 200 plus stores all across India, and out of that 80% are in tier 2 and tier 3 cities. We are delivering in 700 plus cities all across India, and we work with 4,000 odd partners. Last year we crossed 100 CR revenue, and that too without taking any external fund. When we entered in the domain, the competition was very, very high, and the first challenge was how to satisfy customer, because here a person is not shopping for himself, he's shopping for somebody else. So the consumer buying behavior, it gets changed, and there is no book thesis where a person tells that yes, this is of interest, this is of my interest, I am browsing something, I know this is of my interest, you can chase that person. But in gifts, a gift can be anything and everything. A gift can be service, a gift can be perishable like cake, flowers, it can be customized items. So a challenge for us to map what the person is searching. So we have in-house tech team. We inculcated machine learning and artificial intelligence. We mapped our customer journeys, and then we sold the products according to personality, according to that person behavior, and we asked certain questions from the customer. If a person is looking at a gift, what type of gifts that person is looking for whom whether he is looking for a female or a male, what age group that person is. And going through all these, we found that there was a lot of traction in cakes and flowers in the perishable segment. Because in the non-perishable segment, there are ways, there are websites, there are other brands that they can do. But a person remembers birthday and anniversary on the same day. Yeah, my friend birthday, so he remembers same day. So he is in a hurry and he cannot tell the other person that yes, today is your birthday, so I am sending you a cake. So first he sends a cake and then he wishes happy birthday. So it was a very challenging problem to solve. But we worked on the guidelines, we worked on the SLAs, we worked on the recipes to control the quality, we worked on the manpower, and slowly and steadily we have started backward integrating. Firstly, we were delivering cake, flowers, then we moved to personalize and other, and after lockdown we started going omni-channel. Then in 2 years, we have opened 200 plus franchisee stores, and we are opening one franchisee each day as of now. So what that gave us a bit of control on the product, on the quality, on that service, because if anything is messed up, then the person will not come back again. And as you know, customer is God, customer is very intelligent, and here, rather than going for customer satisfaction, he wants customer delight. And even I have seen many customers that, yes, if I have ordered for somebody else, so why does that person has not called me that he has got a cake? I agree that person might be busy, or we have instant intimation that yes, your order has been delivered, but I can't believe until and unless that person calls me. So here in terms of gifting, it's already a celebration, it's already an occasion. So rather than going for customer satisfaction or customer delight, people go for certain customer orgasm, where the person is very happy for other person. So we took care by going into omni-channel, by putting SLAs, and then we backward integrated into recipe thing, where we have our own premix and raw material, and we supply all the raw material that is required for cakes and for gifts to our stores, to our partners. There we are able to control. And we have stores in Baramulla, we have stores in Coimbatore, we have 3 stores in Arunachal Pradesh, we have a store in Rajkot, Diu. So we have covered pan-India. We wanted to have a single taste for cake and pastry, a single brand, because there is none. As of now, there is no brand that delivers in Baramulla and Coimbatore with the same taste. But we are able to do because of that.
Super. I think what is fascinating here is that whilst that one consumer experience can make or break what you set out to do, there is also a category that I think, Akash, I want to explore this with you, that you are in a business where you set out to democratize the larger good life aspect, right? It's self-indulgence. It's not buying a gift for somebody else, but it's really taking chances with your own self and holistic wellness at that. When you started a business that has an overarching cause and a purpose to exist, how do you marry commerce with that? And how difficult was it for you to straddle the two?
Thanks, Utsav. Hi, everyone. Great question here. I mean, the business started, so Bella Vita Organic, one of the brands I run, it started with a need, right? The need was that how do you deliver quality products which are safe, which are Ayurveda backed, at certain price points which are very acceptable by consumers, and they become a mass value proposition in the country. I think for us, marrying it with commerce was a very organic process. It came automatically just because of the 3 Ps that we use, and you mentioned 3 Ps as well. So I have my own set of 3 Ps. Anyone who's trying to become a founder here or is a founder and trying to do their own startups, especially in D2C, the 3 Ps that I always abide by, one is product, second is pricing, and third is purpose. So what that means is one, and similar to noise, you guys do a lot of that as well. So with product, your product has to be top-notch quality with some differentiation. That goes without saying. Price. The price of your product has to be fairly acceptable by at least 8 out of 10 consumers you're targeting to. And third, purpose, which is the most important, that today if your product or your brand ceases to exist, will a consumer miss you, right? I mean, that's the most important. For example, we have a few products that today if we stop them, there would be consumers lining up outside our office saying कि हमें ये चाहिए, right? So the 3 Ps worked fantastically for us, and marketing wasn't that important. When the value prop was right, the consumers came flocking in.
Excellent, excellent. I can't agree more with you. I have to say that this key takeaway is something that we also have at Noise, where unless you have a great product at a great price, you could be championing any innovation, but then you are limiting yourself to who you are speaking to. And here we've got Abhineet, who's probably running a business model that is so unique, that is enabling this for a lot of businesses. Abhineet, I want to come to you and figure out when you came up with this idea of enabling sales for businesses, and we will go live with you in a few days, but what was the genesis to this idea? And more importantly, how do you see this as a sustainable business model? Because clearly you are speaking to an audience that is otherwise going to refrain shopping digitally. And you are opening up this huge base of new shoppers, first-time shoppers, where an EMI without a card is enabling a transaction.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, so my partner Nalin, he actually started an ad tech company, and can you hear me? Yeah, my partner actually started an ad tech company before Snapmint, and we went live with one of the furniture brands, Urban Club, and we promoted an EMI campaign on their website. And when we're running that campaign, we saw a huge number of customers click on the banners. The CTRs were like 50% higher. The number of people reaching the payment page was like 40% higher, but the sales uplift was 0. And that puzzled us a lot. And we did some customer research and figured out that most of the customers who were trying to make that installment purchase were not enabled by their bank or their any other financial player to make that purchase, but they were really keen on making that purchase. We interviewed some of the people who were there in our office and asked them how many of them had a EMI-based product, a financial product, and 28 out of 30 said we don't have anything. So that's when we decided to close that business and start a new business called Snapmint, which was to enable installment purchases for customers. And when my partner told me that, this is the kind of business we are trying to launch, and he's already started experimenting with taking a few phones and smartwatches online, and he said, the day I launched, I started selling 4 products on installment directly. And smartwatches are selling and mobiles are selling. I said, let us start this business together. I said, I'm a Marwadi, very traditional business thought process, and said, koi smartwatch pe installment kyun lega? I said like that. And then then he said, नहीं नहीं लोग तो ले रहे हैं, तुम बात करो customer से. So I spoke to 50 customers. And then I realized that I am not a Bharat customer. I'm probably in the top few affluent segment, but majority of Indians that are online, like right now, 700 million customers are online. And when they, and the people have huge aspirations. And so not everyone has those financial backing. So one of the customers I remember, which changed my mind into jump into this thing was, she said, I have purchased a smartwatch for 4,000 rupees, and I asked her experience, and she said everything is fine. She was a software techie earning 30,000 rupees salary, about 25-year-old. And she said that, then I said, I was about to cut the call, and she said, I have a request. I said, what is that? She said, I, got a salary raise right now. I am now earning 36,000 per month. So I said, great. Do you want to pay all your installments now? She said, no, I want to buy a shoe. Can you enable that purchase for me as well? And then I realized that the Gen Z segment is not buying a TV or a fridge on installment. They are buying fashion, they are buying gadgets, they are buying travel, and they're really stretching their budgets to, if they don't have the finances, they end up either delaying the purchase or settling for a discounted product, but taking, people don't like to take loan from their parents and everything. They want independence, and they don't want to show that I want to, I'm taking a 4,000 rupees loan and then buying this smartwatch. People don't want to do that. So that's when we launched all these, categories, and since doing like 4 orders a day, now do many orders a day. Thankfully, 3 out of the people in this panel are associated with me, or in some form or the other we are doing business with them. And we realized that in terms of customer experience, like say for instance, when a customer is trying to buy, say, a noise smartwatch versus a customer is trying to buy, say, a mattress, the kind of experience the customer is expecting is very different. Like for a smartwatch or a 3,000 rupee product, you have to give them a very smooth journey. Whereas for a high ticket value, you can sometimes, for a customer, you can ask a few more details. And the customer is willing to do that if they are in need for that, if they need to satisfy that aspirational need of theirs. That's what we are up to.
So, Avineet, clearly we've managed to populate our notes. So, there is gumption, there is a founder who needs to be audacious, founders who need to have extreme belief. There is then the 3 Ps that Akash spoke about. But most importantly, how do you build a brand that is rooted in trust? Because, see, the fact is today, a lot of times, whilst we talk of consumer centricity, that tends to dilute as the consumer trust on a brand is weak, right? And I want to touch base with Gaurav and Akash on this. You are in a business where trust is everything. I mean, we've been selling Ayurveda as Indians now for over 100 years. But the fact is that I still want to have absolute faith in buying a product that I'm going to put on my own skin. And in your case, extremely high indulgence category where unless I have faith, how do I know I'm paying the right price? How do D2C brands today cross this chasm of building trust with consumers? I'll start with you, Akash.
Sure, thanks, Utsav. So I think one thing we've done very differently to build trust from day one is having myself and a lot of my team members as a part of a marketing strategy. So if you've ever seen Bella Vita online, it's a big probability you'll come across me being the model in the ad, talking about why I created perfumes, why my mother created skincare, why my sister created a hair care category. And I think that brought a lot of trust in consumers कि founder अपने आप ही हमें बता रहा है कि मैंने ये किया है, इसको आप try करके देखो. Once we established that with our first few consumers, we ran great referral programs. So I think it's word of mouth and it's transparent, direct, candid marketing that works the best to build trust in consumers. That's all for me, sir.
Super. I'm sure, Gaurav, you can't say that about yourself, but what was the secret sauce for you?
So I think this is one of the most common questions being asked to us because the only other or the big gorilla in the category, Tanish, the punchline is the trust of Tatas, right? So I think so one of the most commonly asked questions, and I think a lot of suggestions were also given over time that we should do something about trust, we should do something about trust, how to build it even faster and so on. We have not. But we've always consciously decided to stay away from trying to build trust using marketing gimmicks or marketing techniques, etc. And I think what I believe very strongly is that the trust gets built over time. You meet someone for the first time, you don't trust that person enough. I mean, that's our nature. That's how we have survived all these centuries by not being very trusting of others. So that's a nature. But as you are around for longer, as people see you more and more, it'll get built naturally. One of the most important things to do is to do the right thing for the customers, and it'll over time it'll build. So one of the policies that we launched with was a 30-day money back policy. So you can buy jewelry and then return it within 30 days of delivery if you don't like it or for whatever reason, no question asked. The moment we launched it, so many people came and said that people will order it, wear it for a wedding, come back and return it. I said, let them do it. I mean, it's okay. They would still wear bluestone jewelry and then go to the wedding. And we'll see how many people exploit it, use it genuinely and so on. But we trusted the users to actually behave or use that policy in the right way. And you'd be surprised that we've, over the last 10 years, we've only found 8 such cases of someone exploiting it like big time. And it's very easy to kind of just plug those 8 cases rather than changing the policy for everyone. And most of the people are using it for genuine reasons. We don't want someone to live with that expensive piece of item, expensive piece of jewelry all their lives, if despite not liking it. I mean, they would be cursing me all their lives. We don't want that. We rather want you to return it, take your money back, but at least have a good experience. Even if you don't like our jewelry, at least like us. So that's how we have been operating, and I think it'll get built over time.
Sure, and I'm sure most people would not know, but Sleepyhead also has a 100-night trial policy. That's really sticking your neck out and saying that there is absolute belief in the product, but also the consumer that they're not going to abuse it. Matthew, what do you have to say about that?
So actually, I'll build on Gaurav, and I completely agree on the 3 Ps as well. So if I actually put about 100 mattresses here, I'm pretty sure I'm going to get 5 different opinions. It's either hard, soft, medium, firm, because the body psychology of every person is very different. And that was one of the biggest factor when we were trying to sell mattresses online. And the only way which we could do that is by giving a 100-day trial. So you need to be very confident on your product that people are going to like it. And we actually went one step further because we started educating the customer post-purchase, saying, your body is kind of used to sleeping on a certain surface for, let's say, 6-7 years. So it'll take some time, and we started educating them on the science of sleep as well as, how your body is going to adapt to your new sleeping surface. So when you do these things, they feel very comfortable to actually buy into your brand. So, and, hence that kind of builds trust.
Excellent. And as we are coming close to this session, I just want to use this opportunity to kind of ask you to start summarizing what are those 3 key ingredients that help you disrupt a fairly competitive space that each of you is operating in. Because you're in environments where consumers can be absolutely relentless. You've got massive competition. You're not the only ones there. But there is not a winner-take-all market. You've managed to build leadership for each of yourselves. So for aspiring entrepreneurs, for other D2C founders who are wanting to break in or are struggling to figure out a recipe, if you had to summarize, Gaurav, we'll go in this order, what are those 3 ingredients or the secret sauce really to building a sustainable, disruptive D2C brand?
So in our case, the first one would be listening to the signals on the ground. We had absolutely zero experience of the category. We had no idea what jewelry was and so on. We kept on talking to customers. We kept on listening to things. We had our ears on the ground. So that was the first thing, listening to the signals on the ground. Second is the first principle approach. So us not being from the jewelry industry was a boon also and was a bane also. So we didn't know a lot of obvious things we actually figured out by first principles. But what also, where that also helped was many of the things that were being done just for the sake of it, just because those were being done in that way for like past many generations. We naturally changed those. So basically, a first principle approach to solving problems, which we identified by looking at the signals. And third, at the time of scale-up was a very data-driven approach. For scale-up, that is very, very, very important. So in that sequence, I think those were the three very important things for us.
Excellent. So basically, believe in the consumer, listen to the consumer, have the conviction to make real changes, and continue to look at data as opposed to inducing opinion in it. Stay with the first principles. Super. So those three are the key insights from Gaurav. Sujit, what do you have to say?
So, since the space was very crowded and highly competitive, we never focused on competition. That competition is doing this, so let's do this. So we focused only on contribution, and hence eventually it became a celebration for us and for others as well. So, and since there is a different consumer buying behavior, so we introduced COD for the trust, that if you are sending a cake to somebody else, why not order it for yourself on COD? You taste it and then you send it. So we are the only one in the segment who is having COD in place. And that too in 150 cities all across India. So, and the third one is, of course, the customer is there, but the data, you need to make use of data. What the customer actually want, what he is looking for, what type of experience can we create by using the data. So after looking after all these things and analyzing the calls on customer care, it was a decision, wise decision to go into retail, to have an omni-channel presence, to have an experience center where people can go and take a feel of that. So for the trust factor, we did that. And the third thing was our belief that yes, we are into the segment, we'll make this thing work, and we kept our team intact. Being at a smaller place, we attracted talent from bigger cities. We have 400 plus people working for us and wanting to celebrate and make every celebration successful.
Thank you, Sujit. Wonderful. Abhineet, what do you have to say? What are those three takeaways as we close this session?
I mean, for us, somehow, although we see that there is a lot of people say that fintech is highly crowded and there's a lot of competition for you. But when we look at market in the segment we are operating, say for instance, noise like smart watches or headphones on installment or shoes or fashion on installment, we don't see too many people doing that today in India. And so that segment is like when we do customer research and talk to customers, and one of the things I would invest is invest a lot of personal time and request my team to talk to customers and ask and get insights. We look at data, but what we learn from customer and hearing from them directly, I don't think data has ever told me that level of insight.
So putting customer and data in front of all decisions, really?
Yes. And the second, in terms of trust, is something like we have had two different things, kind of experiences. Like when we have two channels. One, we work with brands, and on their D2C portals, we enable...
I mean, quick three takeaways. We've had putting data and consumer, what else?
Data, consumer, and third, I would say that competition is good actually sometimes. Is that in the sense that when I went to brands 1 year ago trying to pitch to them, work with us, they said, what is it, what concept are you talking about?
So stay hungry. Let's stay with those. What do you have to say, Akash?
Three words quickly. Innovate, experiment with marketing, and communicate. That's it.
Super. Matthew, closing remarks.
I mean, to add on with, all this is very relevant. I would definitely say culture, people, have the right team, cross-functionally, and don't really be scared to aim for moonshot goals, because the first 1-2 weeks, your team's going to get all puzzled up with, aiming for 20x growth. But what will eventually happen is your team starts cross-functioning, and the 20x kind of becomes a norm. And they'll all strategize to actually get there much faster. So moonshot goals is what I would say.
Excellent. So set high ambitions, back yourself with belief, listen to the consumer, continue to look at data, and if nothing else is working, have perseverance, be at it, and you will see success. Thank you, gentlemen. Wonderful panel.
Thank you.
Thanks for having you around.